Okay, let's make sure that we are going live before I talk too much. Oh, would you look at that? Okay, good, we're live. So welcome mamas to the Mom and Baby Nutrition Support Group with Alex Gardner. My name is Alex and I'm a registered and licensed dietitian and a certified lactation consultant. And I realized after getting a lot of questions that some moms are unsure about how to properly store their expressed breast milk or formula that has been made. So formula, like once you mix the water and the powder, like what do you do after you make that? So I do want to start off by saying that whether you're formula feeding or breastfeeding, it really doesn't matter. We want to make sure that the food that we're giving our baby is stored safely to prevent bacteria growth from growing so that our babies don't get sick. It's kind of the same principle as us like getting food poisoning. So we want to make sure that we are storing things properly. So this live stream is for you if you are a mom feeding a baby, or you will be feeding a baby in the future, or you're just curious to know what the storage guidelines are. So let's go ahead and dive in. And this is going to be a pretty short live stream because it's important information, but it's not very overwhelming. So you can always refer back to this PowerPoint, the slideshow, this video, if you have any questions. And just to be upfront and telling you like where I got these sources, because remember, everything in this group is evidence-based. This information is coming from the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, on how to properly store. So this really can apply if you live in Canada, if you live in South America, if you live in Europe. There might be slightly different variations, but this is just like a good guideline to follow. So if you have freshly expressed breast milk, that means you just pumped it or you just hand expressed it, you can keep it at room temperature for up to 4 hours. You can keep it in the refrigerator for up to 4 days, or you could put it in the freezer for up to 6 months. And that's like a generic freezer, like one of those freezers that it's like a fridge and a freezer. So like just a general fridge freezer. But if you have a deep freezer, you can keep the breast milk in there up to 12 months, but it's better to use it within 6 months. So that is freshly expressed breast milk, has not been thawed before or frozen before. Now, what about thawed breast milk that was previously frozen? Well, once you take the breast milk out of the freezer and it thaws, it can be kept at room temperature for about 1 to 2 hours. It can be kept in the refrigerator for 24 hours. And we never want to refreeze breast milk. So once it's frozen and you take it out of the freezer, only take out what you need, because once you take it out of the freezer, it needs to be used within 24 hours. Otherwise, it has to be discarded because we can't refreeze it. Now, there's another really important note that I want moms to know here, and that's if, say you make a 3-ounce bottle, so you put 3 ounces of breast milk in a bottle, and your baby only drinks 2 ounces of it. So there's 1 ounce left over after the feeding, right? You can use that extra ounce that's left in the bottle within 2 hours of that feeding. But after that, it needs to be discarded, because what happens is you're giving the baby the bottle and there's some backwash in there. There's some bacteria that flows from the baby's mouth to the bottle, and we don't want that bacteria to grow. So what ends up happening is that bacteria grows after about 2 hours. So we don't want to put that extra ounce back in the fridge and leave it there for a few days. It needs to be used within 2 hours. But that's important to know because we don't want to just throw it away either, right? So say you feed your baby 2 ounces and 30 minutes later, they want to fill up a little bit. They want a little top off. So that's important because you can use that extra ounce. So what about prepared formula? So what I mean by prepared formula is formula that has been mixed. So once you mix formula, it can be at room temperature for 2 hours from the time you make the formula. 24 hours worth of formula, you can keep it in the refrigerator, but it needs to be used within 24 hours. Now, similarly with what we talked about before, once you start feeding your baby a bottle of formula, that bottle needs to be used within 1 hour or it needs to be discarded. And the reason for the difference here is because there's a lot of antibacterial properties in breast milk, and that's why we can wait 2 hours to discard it. But with formula, there's not a lot of antibacterial properties. So that's why we only want to wait 1 hour before we discard it. And remember, this isn't saying formula that's like in a bottle by itself. We're talking about formula that the baby's mouth has touched. And like I said, some parents really like to make several feedings worth of formula at once. And that's absolutely fine as long as you put it in the refrigerator and only put what's needed for the feeding in the bottle at each feeding. So we keep like a pitcher or whatever full of pre-made formula in the fridge. And then when it's feeding time, we put just however much the baby needs in the bottle. We put that pitcher of formula back in the fridge, and then we feed the baby that bottle. So that way there's not bacteria going into that pitcher. So really, that's all that I have for these guidelines. I really hope it was informational for you guys. Now, if you're watching live and you have any questions about what we talked about or breastfeeding or formula feeding in general, let me know, because I am checking the chat right now. And I'm not seeing any questions, but if you guys have questions, if you're watching the replay or you think of something later, feel free to come back to this video, drop the questions in the comment section. I'll get back to you, or you can reach out to me personally and I'd be happy to answer any of those questions. So just remember, this video is going to be in the guides section of the group, and this is a resource for you whenever you need it. If you need to come back and reference this video for learning how to store, absolutely come back to the group, check the guide section. This video will be archived for you so that you have it as a resource and as a tool in your toolbox. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, mamas. And next week, we are going to have another special guest interview with the creator of the 4th trimester fitness program, or the 4th trimester fitness method. So she's going to be joining us next week and talking about how to recover postpartum and incorporate movement postpartum. And that's going to be really exciting. And I can't wait to have her. So I am so excited to see you all next week. And you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye, mamas.